Man, I haven't done a video in a while, so this is coming to you after Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys had a fantastic one. It's a question that came in about 6 days ago. 6 days ago. And it was from Brett Cooney. And shout out Brett Cooney for asking the question because it sparked a long answer. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should do a video breakdown of this and, kind of climb into this discussion and explain a few things. But first, I need to stop looking at my phone since I'm doing a video and focus on what I'm talking to you guys about. The question was, do you think increase in non-Nike brands becoming more prevalent could be impacted by Nike's DTC strategy, forcing retailers to elevate other brands? Now, if you're a little bit confused by that, it's in regard to the video that I did on the moat being drained, the Nike moat around their castle being drained, and the rise of the Adidas Samba versus the Air Force One. And it was a very long video, but I broke it down in sections. You can go and look at that. You know what? I'll put the link up here so it'll pop up and you can see it and click on it if you want to view it. But this was my answer. And I said, this is a question deserving of a video. Hence, I'm doing a video. And I said, I'll sit down and break it down. This is completely freestyle. I haven't done research or anything else to pull back. I'm reading the answer that you see, and I'm going to try and dive a little bit further into the discussion. I won't keep you very long. If it does go long, I'll break it down into sections, and you'll be able to go to the section that you want to read or listen to or hear. So this was my response to this idea of retailers elevating other brands since Nike is going so heavy on direct to consumer, which I don't really think is the case right now because Nike needs these sales. They have a lot of inventory and they're beginning to add older partners back, right? This is what I wrote. There are three types of retailers. You have family channels, which is Famous Footwear, Macy's, etc. You have mainstream, which is Foot Locker, Dick's, JD Sports, etc. And then you have specialty stores like running stores, hiking stores, REI, stuff like that. You can also add in a fourth channel, which would be sneaker boutiques. But those are they're going to carry the same thing that your mainstream sneaker stores carry. So a sneaker boutique and a mainstream store are pretty much the same stores. You might get some high heat from a collab at a particular sneaker store, but in general, they carry the same stuff, especially as it relates to Nike. Now, when I'm talking about these things, I'm talking about it from an experience. I'm breaking away from reading over here. I'm talking about it from an experience of going through what happened when Nike began to remove accounts. I personally went through it with a small chain, and I talk about this small chain often. I bring it up because it's extremely relevant when having this discussion. There's this kind of situation where, let me get back to reading. Any account carrying Nike will be unable to elevate other brands. Is this a hard fact rule in any paperwork that Nike gives their retailers? No, you will not find it anywhere. So you can go and look at paperwork. You can go and ask someone, hey, what does your paperwork look like when you go into the Nike and you decide to pick what shoes you're going to order and all this other stuff? There's nothing that's written that says that you have to get Nike's permission to put another brand in the store. There's nothing there. You'll never find anything that says that. So anyone that says you can't say that this is a fact. You can't find that information anywhere. However, there are unspoken rules, and these unspoken rules exist between account managers and the stores. You know that if you give X brand the front of the store, Nike's not going to look kindly upon it. They're not going to be happy about it. And can they adjust your allotments because of that? Definitely. They can definitely change your allotment. Is this what happened to Foot Locker? I don't think so. But let me get back to the answer because then I start going all over the place, and I don't want to go all over the place, even though it does take us to some interesting kind of discussions. Any account carrying Nike will be unable to elevate other brands. Will you get paperwork or billboards or marketing materials for other brands? Definitely. Definitely. You're going to get those things. All right. So you can elevate another brand because you have those products in store. You have to market those brands. You can. So let's say a company like I remember when Sage, Allison Felix's company, got into Foot Locker and they gave her a box, window for marketing Sage. And it was a really pretty box with her shoe inside of it. And then it explained what the brand was a little bit. Could have been much better. But they elevated that. But Sage is no threat to Nike. Adidas is a threat, of course, because Adidas is a big company, just like Nike is. Now, I mean, they're half the size of Nike, but they're a big company nonetheless. Under Armour could be a threat because it's a big company. New Balance is a threat because it's a big company. These are big companies. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. So as far as Nike cutting Allotment, if a chain decides to elevate another partner, Foot Locker did kind of take a hit when they decided to state that they were going to really dive into their partnership with Adidas. So these unwritten rules, right, for Nike account holders, and it prevents them from giving shelf space to competitors. In other words, you can't have a small brand walk in and get shelf space because Nike's going to possibly, and this cannot be proven, so I shouldn't even say it. If you walk in and you have a small brand, you're not going to simply get, it's just like in radio, right? You're not going to just get your song on the radio. Somebody's got to get paid. And I'm not saying a small brand would have to pay a Foot Locker or a JD Sports to get on the shelf. But that wall space is expensive, man. It's crucial to the success of your brand because it gives you the ability to be seen. All right, so at Specialty Running, those stores have always focused on the best running shoes. And many of those stores are not relying on Nike at all. So if you go to some specialty stores, like I recently went to a store called Grivet Outdoor, and they had an incredible wall of trail shoes, running shoes. And they did not have any Nikes in the store. None. No Nikes. That's a safety net for those stores. If you are not building your business around Nike, you recognize you don't have the safety net of a big release to kind of fuel the rest of your business. When we go back to these channels, Family Channel is heavily reliant on Nike, right? Mainstream, heavily reliant on Nike. Specialty, not so much. Sneaker boutiques, heavily reliant on Nike. You have to kind of pull back when you get these kind of questions and ask yourself if it's possible for things to be elevated. I think now, and like I said, I'm doing this off the cuff. I'm not really planning it out. I'm not even opening up a lot of different windows to read things to you. I will go to the site just because there are articles on the site that you can find. And in particular, if you go to the site and you type in Nike Wall and you click search, I have these series of discussions about the Nike Wall and the fact that other brands are fighting for space, right? Let's open this up because it should have pictures in each part of it. And it's really interesting stuff. If you've never read these articles, I wrote them over 4 years ago. So you would have to go and read it. And yeah, so I have these pictures in here. And what you'll notice, this is a Finish Line or a JD Sports, right? What you'll notice, Under Armour, Adidas, Reebok up here at the top, Champion, Azad Lacoste, Fila in this third row. Did I take any more pictures here? I didn't, and I did a continue reading part too, which I already had open. And I took more pictures inside of Finish Line because I wanted to kind of get my point across about some things. And that is the Nike section here, the champion section, the layout of the store, the stores within stores. I'm going to open this one up and see if I have any other pictures here. All right, so no other pictures there, but you have these discussions. And I'm going to a 2019 post. That's 4 years ago now. And me making these observations inside of the store. So promotional marketing couldn't drive engagements. Consumers didn't show up for 40% off sales. The customer only wants deals, and this has hindered sale through at full price. Now we're right back at 2019. And here's the funny thing about when we're looking at sneaker brands, looking at Nike in particular, and we're thinking about Foot Locker, because I got another question from someone else, and they were like, "Yo, Chris, do you think Nike is going to give Foot Locker their allotment back since Nike seems to be flooded with inventory, or that they aren't making sales the way they used to?" The Foot Locker stores, the chains, the Champs, Foot Locker, that cut from Foot Locker having 70% of their inventory be Nike, and Foot Locker saying we're going to be at 55%. Well, that went back up immediately to like 60%. However, the consumer that goes to Foot Locker, and here's something about the mainstream, these mainstream stores. The customer that goes to Foot Locker is the same customer that has the sneakers app on their phone. You're always going to be in a constant tug of war with Nike, because Nike and their DTC strategy is attempting to pull more consumers into that digital ecosystem where they have 3 times the amount of sales that takes place at a regular store. A Foot Locker store, and I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just looking at the stock just for the idea that we see this cliff year to date where Foot Locker was at 40, and then they dropped all the way down to 27, even down to 19 and 16, and people are kind of waiting on Foot Locker to drop back down to 15. So they're going to wait for these earning reports and see how Foot Locker is doing. And Foot Locker, analysts are saying it's a hold. When we think about Foot Locker and their ability to elevate, getting back to the original question, and I know I'm rambling just a little bit, but Foot Locker's ability to elevate other brands is non-existent. Foot Locker is not a specialty retailer. Specialty retail, running shops, outdoor shops, the people who work there tend to be a part of those communities. And while the people that work at Foot Locker, the older heads, are part of the communities, a lot of the younger people and part-timers that they hire, they are strictly Nike people. They will not wear other brands. And this idea of not wearing other brands is kind of the root cause of why a chain like Foot Locker why they took the hit versus other stores. And I talked about this a long time ago. Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's was not big on Nike. They didn't have premium Nike product. Dick's now carries premium Nike product. It was important for Nike to get Dick's on board with premium product versus family channel product. Why was that important? Because Dick's could elevate in the way that Brett asked this question. Dick's was very good at elevating other brands because they had the Brooks on the wall. They had the Asics on the wall. They had the Hokas on the wall and the On running shoes on the wall. And the people that worked at Dick's in many instances were older people than who worked at Foot Locker. So if I'm Nike and I look at Foot Locker and I realize that I got that consumer base on lock, I can force Foot Locker. And when I say force, I'm not saying Nike went in and strong-armed them like they were the law or something, or mafia. But I don't have to focus on Foot Locker as much as I really need to focus on Dick's, who serves a different consumer and a broader consumer than a sneakerhead consumer that goes to Foot Locker. So you asked the question, will Foot Locker be able to elevate? Foot Locker can sell what's on the wall if the consumer is interested in buying it, but Foot Locker cannot sell it outright because that customer doesn't come in who's going to buy a pair of Ons. Finish Line, however, is a little bit different than Foot Locker. They can sell some other brands, which is why I used them in the in-store visit in this instance, because their sneaker wall was much more diverse than Foot Locker. Which leads me back to the point again about Dick's Sports getting premium product, JD getting premium product, because JD has a more diverse sneaker palette, a sneaker wall, a more diverse customer. They had different brands on the wall. You get more Nike stuff, you push more Nike shoes. Hibbett Sports, interestingly enough, appears to be the store chain that took on a lot of what Nike took away from Foot Locker. But why would Nike give Hibbett Sports more product? I don't know how many of you have Hibbett Sports in your area, but if you go to the stores, they have changed considerably. And some analysts don't recall this, and a lot of people don't remember. Hibbett Sports used to be the place that hood people would actually buy sporting gear. A lot of people that stayed in tough neighborhoods that had that standalone Hibbett store, you could go in and get a baseball glove. You could go in and get football cleats. You could go in and get a baseball bat. You could go in and get a basketball. Hibbett Sports is not that anymore. Since Hibbett Sports acquired City Gear, which is basically a sneaker boutique style store, it's a mainstream store, but it's an urban account. Hibbett is taking on the persona of City Gear. And here's what's interesting. When they took on the persona of City Gear, it was important for Nike to feed Hibbett's and City Gear because Hibbett's had the potential to be like Dick's or even be like a specialty running. Hibbett's originally had the ability to elevate other brands. And I think that Nike had the insight and they understood that they could go in, that Hibbett's could survive with those standalone stores in those small towns and all through the South. And as they expanded out west, Hibbett's could survive, especially because at the time, back 5 to 7 years ago, they did not have e-commerce. They could expand into e-commerce. They could grow sporting goods sales. I know you got Academy and you have Big Five in the West Coast and you have Dick's Sporting Goods, of course. But those bigger chain places, they couldn't fulfill the need for sports, team sports in small towns the way Hibbett's could. But now Hibbett's does not focus on that area anymore because they have an abundance of Nike. I'm eventually going to get to this point. The question was Foot Locker. Will Foot Locker regain that 70 to 75% of product that was Nike product? No, because Foot Locker there's an underlying threat with Foot Locker. They're the biggest of the big. They are the beast because they have so many store locations, over 3,000 store locations. And Foot Locker has the potential to be an incredibly powerful company. All they have to do is make some small adjustments to visual merchandising. One of those big adjustments that they could make is to get perch systems. And I don't even know if I have perch on the site. And I bring up perch because, let me see, I got to look down over perch. And let me misspelled it. Perch, boutique formats. All right, boom. So I do have Perch on the site. Now, you guys see this. When you walk into a store, right? Perch is one of the, and I'm not doing an advertisement for Perch. They're not paying me. It doesn't matter. It could be something else that's a visual wall, a tab of some type. That's a lot more. Jimmy Jazz, a long time ago, right? Jimmy Jazz had on their wall, mounted on their wall, and Jimmy Jazz was one of the few places that you could do this. You could take a shoe, go up, put the barcode underneath it, and it would tell you if it was in stock. They didn't even have to send a person over to you to go back in the back and check it, which allowed Jimmy Jazz to prevent a lot of theft. That is getting off topic a little bit, but I'm getting to my point here. Foot Locker has 3,000 stores. They're closing them. They're opening up power stores. They're doing all of these different things, but Foot Locker has never changed the way their stores looked. They never updated the stores. The newer stores, the power stores, beautiful stores. Yeah, they've updated them, but they look the same. The walls are the same. In order to sell different shoes, visual merchandising has to be at the core of what you do. And I was about to say this about Hibbett's. If you go to a Hibbett's, they changed it. Even the branding on the outside of the stores is completely different. They updated what they look like. Nike likes that. Nike gives you more when you do things to differentiate your stores. Foot Locker has not made real considerable changes to their store layouts. Now, do they do a good job of laying out the clothing? If you go to a Champs, our local Champs is a model for how to merchandise apparel. It's incredible. But the rest of the stores that are in the Foot Locker network look exactly the same as they always have. But the Champs is a newer store. So it is able to display these clothing, this apparel, much better. Now, it still stands that when people walk in, you have the old school experience of having to go to the back and find the shoes, and this is where theft happens. So you have to have someone at the front door. All of these different things could be alleviated by systems like the Perch system. And that Perch system, when you pick up a shoe, it will tell you what's happening, right? It'll tell you what's happening with the product that you picked up. Now, I don't expect the Foot Lockers to go out and integrate this, but something has to change in regard to Foot Locker. And answering the question, finally, let's get to the question. Is Foot Locker going to regain that shoe, those shoes that were taken by Nike? I don't think they need to. And I'm not an analyst. You don't have to take what I'm saying. You don't have to go here and look at the stock. And it's, if you look up year to date and you see the changes over the course of time, obviously Foot Locker's down. So you have people that are thinking about shorting, or you have people that are thinking about buying, or you have these analysts that are trying to figure out the position to get in with Foot Locker. Foot Locker has done absolutely nothing to show me that they will correct the problems that they have, because they seem to be focused on sneakerhead stuff. And here's the problem with that. You're fighting Nike. Nike's your biggest supplier, and fighting Nike is not going to help you win. It's not going to help you win. You have to succumb to what Nike wants you to do to benefit and get more sales. But at any point where Nike feels that they may have something to gain by diminishing what you are, you're at their mercy. Now, here's the crazy thing. The question was asked, it was like, can these companies elevate these other brands? Nike actually gave Foot Locker a gift by cutting them in Allotment. And it didn't help them, obviously, because, the simple fact of losing Nike, you lose the majority of the shoes that are being sold. It's like resale. There's no resale without Nike. It doesn't matter that you get these shoes that are elevating temporarily. Resale is Nike. They're so big and powerful and strong that you don't survive without them. But if you don't survive without them, why are running shoe stores, specialty running stores, doing so well with On Hoka Brooks? It's because when you walk into a specialty running store, they measure your feet. Some of them will do a gait analysis. You can get on a treadmill. You will learn things about your feet that you probably never thought before. And it endears you towards that store, and it makes you buy from that store solely. And you tend to stick with the brand that you're buying. And if those brands in that store are not Nike, then you have a fan in that person buying, and then that person makes everyone in their family fans. Foot Locker has a different customer. They have a younger sales lead and part-timers on the floor who don't know a lot about these shoes. Foot Locker has a unique opportunity to better themselves. I simply don't see that happening. Now that they're paying a lot more money under Mary Dillon, now that they're paying a lot more money, could they shift? Definitely. Definitely. Could it become better? They have the potential to do so because they are less reliant in the mainstream stores, in the sneaker boutiques. Foot Locker's less reliant on Nike now. And that's going to hurt them in the short term. It takes 3 to 5 years to turn a ship. Not been in the Navy. Obviously, you can turn quickly, especially when there's a storm coming or something happening. But 3 to 5 years, there's a window of time that has to pass before a company gets a good adjustment. But Foot Locker can't make that adjustment because they've shifted leaders. So that means they are in a reset. Nike gave Foot Locker a gift. And if they could sit down and change some things, Foot Locker could be explosive. Could be explosive. Will they? That's to be seen. That's to be seen. But I'm going to wrap that up because this is a long, rambling video. I probably should have did some notes and stuff so I could stay on point. Hopefully it was clear. I'll go in and do the video and edit it and split it up. And hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's good and you get what I'm saying. But that's it. Just wanted to get some videos. I hadn't done a video in a couple of weeks. And definitely not doing sneaker videos right now. Things are pretty busy. But I wanted to sit down and talk sneakers. And I hope you appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. There's no rhyme or reason or routine, so I don't know when that'll be. Peace.